welcome back to that God Power channel. This is the channel where we're going to unlock the God Power that's laying dormant on the inside of you. But first, today, let's jump into Matthew chapter 25. So, if you've been watching the previous videos, you know we've been breaking down the book of Matthew from the Bible. And the reason why is because that's where Jesus literally talks, and it details his whole life throughout this chapter or this book. And Jesus is somebody who teaches how to use God power. So in order to unlock the God power that's laying dormant on the inside of you, I think it's beneficial to understand what this book, the book of Matthew, is actually talking about. So that's why we're breaking it down. So again, if you haven't seen the older videos, I highly suggest you go back and watch them. But today we're focusing in on chapter 25. And chapter 25 is like Jesus is telling a lot of parables throughout this chapter, trying to compare the kingdom of heaven to things and to get us to understand what the kingdom of heaven is like. In this chapter, he compares the kingdom of heaven to 10 bridesmaids. And it goes like this. Then the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 bridesmaids who took their lamps and went to go meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 of them were wise. The 5 who were foolish didn't take enough olive oil for their lamps, but the other 5 were wise enough to take along extra olive oil. So when the bridegroom was delayed, they all became drowsy and they fell asleep. At midnight, they were aroused by the shout, "Look, the bridegroom is coming! Come out and meet him!" All the bridesmaids got up and prepared their lamps. The 5 foolish ones asked the others, "Please give us some of your oil, because our lamps are going out." But the others replied, "We don't have enough for all of us. Go to the shop and buy some for yourselves." But while they were gone to buy the oil, the bridegroom actually came. The bridesmaids that were ready, they went into the whole wedding feast. But the ones that weren't, they're locked out. So later, when the other 5 bridesmaids returned, they stood outside calling, "Lord, Lord, open the door for us." But he called back, "Believe me, I don't know you. So you too must keep watch, for you do not know the day or the hour of my return." So Jesus is saying, like, the kingdom of heaven, like there's gonna be people that are not ready. They're gonna be the ones at the store, like, shit, I gotta go get my life together. If you're in that I gotta get my life together phase, then you might wanna quickly transition to, I got it together and I'm getting it better and I'm getting it better. Because those people who are not ready, it looks like they're gonna get locked out. And nobody knows the day or the hour of his return, so you should be ready because the bridegroom will be coming soon, and that's gonna be Jesus. So moving on, Jesus tells another parable, and this parable is about loan money. So he was like, again, the kingdom of heaven could be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them. While he was gone, he gave 5 bags of silver to one of them, 2 bags of silver to another one, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it up in proportion to their abilities. He knew what they could do with it, so he was like, "Yo, I know y'all could do this." So then he left on his trip, and the servant who received 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. He flipped it, doubled the bag. The servant with 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. So he flipped it and doubled his bag too. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver, he dug a hole in the ground and he hid the master's money. And then after the master returned from his trip, he called them to take account and see how they used the money. And the servant who he entrusted 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more. And the master was like, "Dang, 5 bags of silver. I gave you 5 and you earned 5? Man, well done, my good and faithful servant. You've been faithful in handling a small amount, so I'm going to give you a whole bunch more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." And then the servant with 2 bags came up and said, "You gave me 2 to invest, and I earned 2 more. The master was like, "Oh, well done, my good and faithful servant. You've been faithful in handling this small amount, so I'm going to give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." But then the servant with the 1 bag of silver came and said, "Master, I know you are a harsh man, harvesting your crops you didn't plant and gathering the crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here's your money back." But the master replied, "You wicked and lazy servant. If you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it." And then he ordered, "Take the money from this servant and give it to the one with 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they're given, even more will be given, and they'll have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away. Now throw this useless servant into outer darkness where there's going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth." So basically, Jesus with that parable was saying, look, everybody's given talents and abilities. They're given something to make something. And if you're not making anything, you're not creating, you're not using your gift of life to put forth more life, more love, it just seems like you're that servant who was given one thing and don't do anything with that one thing, just buries it so nobody sees it. To me, that's like, if you have a talent, just let it shine. You know what I'm saying? Do it to the max and flip it. Double your bag. So the idea of flipping money is definitely in the Bible. Understand that. Moving on. Jesus starts to talk about the final judgment. He is like, but when the Son of Man, which is how he refers to himself, like Jesus is the Son of Man, like that's his spiritual title. You feel me? Because he was born of a man, which was Mary, a woman. But he was like, but when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he'll sit up on his glorious throne, and all the nations will be gathered in his presence. And he's going to separate the people as shepherds separates the sheep from the goats. He's going to place the sheep at his right hand and the goats at his left hand. The king will say to those on the right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger and you invited me into your home. And I was naked and you gave me some clothes. I was sick and you cared for me. I was in prison and you visited me." And then the righteous will say, "Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you a drink, or a stranger and show you hospitality, or naked and give you some clothes? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and visit you?" They always asking this and just shaking their heads. And then the king shall say, "I tell you the truth. When you did it to one of the least of those, my brothers and sisters, you was doing it to me." And then the king is going to turn to the people on the left and say, "Away with you, cursed ones, into the eternal fire prepared for the devils and his demons. For I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was thirsty and you didn't give me a drink. I was a stranger and you didn't invite me in the home. I was naked and you didn't give me no clothes. I was in prison and you didn't visit me." And then they will reply, "Lord, when do we ever see you hungry, thirsty, naked, a stranger, sick, in prison, and not help you?" And he will answer, "I tell you the truth. When you refuse to help the least of one of my brothers or sisters, you was refusing to help me." And they'll go into eternal punishment, but the righteous will go into eternal life. So what I think is being said here is that the way that you live your life on earth is the way that you will live your life off the earth, basically. If you, like, everything is reciprocation, you feel me? Like, the people who did what they wanted done to them, now when they die are gonna, it says eternal life, so they're gonna live forever. And then the people who refuse to do what they wanted to done to them, they're not gonna have eternal life. It says eternal punishment, whatever that means. So it basically goes back to love your neighbor as yourself. Basically, do unto others as you want done to yourself. Like, it's golden rule. That's basically what Jesus was saying. To get into the kingdom of heaven, that's what it takes. And so I hope that you are listening, because that's the end of chapter 25. And I thank you for rocking with me. And thank you for all the new subscribers that I got, and the people that are commenting good, positive energy and stuff. Like, I love that, and hopefully I'm giving it back to y'all. So have a beautiful, blessed day, and make sure you click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell, obviously, if you want to be notified. But most importantly, I need y'all to remember that you got that God power.
the God power. I got the God power.
Tapping the source, calling the vibes. I just thank God I'm alive. I just thank God that I'm fly. I just thank God for my rhymes. Every night, these lyrics they step in my spirit.